And joining us now, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Good morning, Shannon. It's great to be with you.
Let's start with that bridge explosion. Extensive damage. This is a key artery and supply line between Russia and Crimea. Who do you think is responsible, and what's the impact on the state of the war, practically but also psychologically?
Well, Shannon, it's hard to know. My guess is that the Ukrainians had something to do with it, but we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. We do know for sure that this is humiliating for Vladimir Putin. He built this bridge. You remember the pictures of him driving across it. It was one of their great achievements. I think it was 2018 when that bridge was built, so it's nearly brand new. And to watch it in flames, to watch the rest of the supply lines out of Crimea into southern Ukraine be at risk is certainly something that is a game changer on the ground in Ukraine. As Trey reported this morning, the Ukrainians are doing phenomenal work at liberating town after town after town, and the Russian military is failing desperately.
So I want to go back to the reporting also by Lucas from the White House about what the president said Thursday night. Here's a little bit more of his report from the White House transcript. It says, the first time since the Cuban Missile Crisis we have a direct threat of the use of the nuclear weapon if, in fact, things continue down the path they've been going. We've not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. The president went on also to say he doesn't think that President Putin is joking. He also says the administration's trying to figure out an off-ramp for Putin. Is there one, and would he take it?
Oh, my goodness. First of all, those comments were reckless. And I think they, even more importantly, they demonstrate maybe one of the greatest foreign policy failures of the last decades, which was the failure to deter Vladimir Putin in the same way that the Trump administration did for 4 years. When you hear a president talking about Armageddon as a random thought, just musing at a fundraiser, that is a terrible risk to the American people if he truly believes that he ought to be out talking to us in a serious way. More importantly, he should be doing all the things that are necessary to deter Vladimir Putin. Shannon, we've been here before, not only in October of '62, we've been here other times as well. And America has always pushed back against our adversaries by showing enormous resolve, executing quiet diplomacy in the same way that we did during our time in office, making very clear to Vladimir Putin that the cost of him using a nuclear weapon will bring the force of not only the United States and Europe, but of the whole world against Vladimir Putin. We ought to be doing that. I hope that they're doing this quietly.
Well, there's a lot of talk this week that what OPEC did, going against the lobbying of the Biden administration to say it's going to cut 2 million barrels a day in production, is actually a big gift to Russia. Energy is a big leverage tool for them. Piece in Newsweek says this: if oil hits $100 a barrel, real possibility now, Russia will make $1 billion a day. So how much of a boost for Russia, for Putin specifically, was that OPEC move?
This is a failure of American policy. Joe Biden is directly responsible for the place that the world finds itself in energy. And frankly, his party, the progressive left, 25 years of thinking you were going to run the world on sunshine and windmills, Shannon. We have the capacity for self-help here in the United States to improve, not only, as we heard the Saudi speak about, Adel Jaber talk about refineries, but we shut down a pipeline. We've made it hard to permit. We've got ESG rules that now deny the capacity to get American energy out of American ground for American consumers. This is to point the finger at someone else, at OPEC or at the Saudis, is an enormous mistake when America has the capacity to produce energy independence for its own country and, frankly, provide energy for the world as well.
You know, there's a lot of frustration here in Washington with the Saudis over this week. From the White House on down, one of the top Democrats in the Senate, Dick Durbin, tweeted this: from unanswered questions about 9/11 and the murder of Jamal Khashoggi to conspiring with Putin to punish the U.S. with higher oil prices, the royal Saudi family has never been a trustworthy ally of our nation. It's time for our foreign policy to imagine a world without their alliance. We all remember during the campaign, President Biden said they were a pariah. He said he wouldn't meet with the crown prince. Then in July, he was over there fist bumping with the crown prince. Then sort of this gut punch from OPEC this week. Where does our relationship with the Saudis stand? Where should it stand?
Yeah, Senator's got it completely wrong. This is about putting the American people first. And to put the American people first means a deep, important security relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as we have had for decades. We did it during the Trump administration. We had friends in the Gulf, the Arab states. We had a deep relationship with the Israelis. We made America safer. We made it less likely that American kids would have to go fight and die in that place again. They have been an important security partner. They should continue to be so. And the Biden administration has got the wrong end of the stick, and so does Senator Durbin. They want to cozy up to the Iranians instead of having good security partners in the region. Giving them billions of dollars in this crazy deal they continue to pursue is a real risk to the American people. More money, more nukes from Iran is bad for us.
Well, let me ask you about that, because the AP has a headline talking about this administration trying to juggle the concerns over human rights issues and also that nuclear deal. It says Biden juggles Iran nukes as Iranian repression grows. Can he credibly side with the protest movement while also trying to salvage the languishing 2015 Iran nuclear deal that would pump billions into Tehran's treasury?
Shannon, common sense. You can't have it always. You can't give them billions of dollars in sanctions relief and hope that the regime will actually respect its own people. And more importantly, you can't give them billions of dollars and think they won't continue to attack Americans, attack people in Europe, continue their terror campaign against Israel. This is a silly policy. And Shannon, as you think about it, these are all connected. Those same Iranians that the Biden administration is giving money to are now providing weapon systems to the Russians to kill Ukrainians. And they're doing it all with tacit support from the Chinese Communist Party. The Biden administration, I don't think, comprehends the connectedness between these three problem sets, but the failure to do so makes America much less safe, much less secure, and the risk to our prosperity is very real.
Okay, so many foreign policy issues to talk about. We could do an hour or two of this, but I want to make sure that we get in about the Taliban, because word this weekend that a top CIA and State Department official both were in Doha to meet with Taliban officials, first time face-to-face since a U.S. drone strike took out Ayman al-Zawahiri. Under the agreements, you negotiated and enforced during the Trump years, he should not have been there, but they say it was a strike on their sovereignty and violated international laws. How do you think that conversation went this weekend?
Goodness, I have no idea how that conversation went, other than I hope what they did was make clear to the Taliban that the behavior that they've engaged in violates the commitments that they'd made and that there will be real costs. That's harder to do now, Shannon. Now that President Biden made the failed decision to withdraw in the way that he did, it's more difficult to impose costs on them. But we should be clear. We are never going to let terror emanate from that place again, and America will use the full power that it possesses to prevent that from happening. It's what we did for our time in office. When we negotiated that deal, we knew they were in violation of the agreement. We knew that this was a work in progress. And when they violated the agreement, Shannon, we killed them. We struck them. We made sure they understood that American deterrence was powerful and real. I hope this administration will continue to do the same.
All right, Secretary Pompeo, thank you for your time. If you have anything to tell us about 2024,
thank you, Shannon.
Please come back. Good to see you.
You'll be amongst the first to know, Shannon. Thank you.
Amongst the first. All right, thank you.